Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. Welcome back to those of you who have been here before, and welcome to those of you who have come across to find out what it's all about. Firstly, I want to say I'm really sorry that I haven't done this before. This time last week I was looking after a sick cat who got hit a week ago. She made a starring role or appearance in one of the videos. I believe it was the Sagittarius video that I did quite recently. I think she was on that video, but she got hit on Wednesday morning and she came home on the Friday, and basically I've been kind of taking care of her, and just my head's been not really in the right place. So I was going to do this obviously before the new moon, because this is a video for the new moon, and the part of me kind of felt I should just not even bother now because it's way past the new moon and we're kind of heading down towards that full moon, steaming ahead to the full moon at the end of the month on the 31st of October, that's going to be taking place in Taurus, which I am also working on at this time. But I keep being pushed and I keep feeling as though I really need to get this out there. I don't know why, but it's kind of like saying to me, do it, just do it, it doesn't matter, just get the astrology out there. Even if you don't do the actual tarot reading for it, get the astrology out there. So that's what I'm doing today. So this is a reading for the new moon that took place on the 16th of October. A new moon that happened in Libra. So that's why it's really late. For anyone who's interested, there will be an attachment to this video for the blog that I have written it up on as well, because I write it up as a blog and then I read it as well. So if you're interested, you could go and check out the link that will be in the description box down below, because the blog will have visuals as well, and it gives you an actual chart so you can see what's going on, and there is also some information about what's coming up for us as well. So that being said, I am calling this particular reading the new moon in Libra, finding balance in the ongoing challenges. So we have, and I'm going to read it as I wrote it, so it is going to be like retrospective reading basically. So the divine masculine energy, which is the sun energy, comes together to form a conjunction with the divine feminine energy, which is the moon energy, during a new moon. So this new moon is taking place at 23 degrees 53 minutes or 24 degrees in the sign of Libra at 20 hours and 31 minutes UK time. So you may want to check out your own natal chart, and for that there will be a link in the description box down below for you to go and check that out, because even though the new moon has happened, the actual energy of this new moon does not really end until we get the full moon at the end of this month, and even beyond that as well. It can go beyond it to the next new moon energy as well. So if you check out your natal chart as well, you'll be able to find out where it has taken place for you on a personal level as well, which house it happened in for yourselves. Also, if you've got any points or planets at the 19 degrees to 29 degrees area of Libra, you will be feeling it the most. And also anyone with planets or points in the same degrees of Aries, Capricorn and Cancer, you're all affected, or you will have all been affected by this new moon. It has been a really powerful energy. So this new moon is very interesting, as it sees all of our inner day-to-day fast moving energy planets in oppositions with the higher conscious, longer lasting, generational, slow moving outer energy planets. A part that is from the sun and the moon, which are our other two personal inner planets. Although they do not escape the intensity of this time at all, but add more to it by the aspects they themselves are creating. So I would like to give a quick rundown of aspects they themselves, or a quick rundown of everything that our conscious and subconscious realms are experiencing at this time. So this is the Sun and the Moon together are opposing Mars retrograde at 20 degrees and 11 minutes in Aries. The Sun and the Moon also opposing Eris, almost exact, at 24 degrees in Aries. Sun and Moon opposing Black Moon Lilith at 29 degrees 29 minutes in Aries. Sun and Moon square Jupiter 19 degrees 11 minutes in Capricorn. Sun and Moon square Pluto 22 degrees 31 minutes in Capricorn. Sun and Moon square Saturn 25 degrees 35 minutes in Capricorn. And the Sun and the Moon trine the North Node at 22 degrees 53 minutes in Gemini. What we are seeing and experiencing here is a T-square, with the tipping point of this seesaw being all the Capricorn energy of the third Earth-ruled sign of the zodiac, ruled by the planet Saturn, the Lord of Time and Karma. This 10th house energy is also about what we are able to overcome and master. At this time, the universe is saying we need to be able to master ourselves. And how it is presenting itself to me is like a blasting furnace. All the fire element is being provided by the Aries trio. The air to feed those flames is coming from the air elements of the Sun and Moon in Libra, which is trining nicely over to the North Node at 22 degrees 53 or 23 degrees in Gemini, adding more fuel to the raging inferno. Lastly, we are the ones in the furnace, represented by the earthly energy of Capricorn, being tempered like impure metal to cleanse out all those long, historically required impurities. Through this intense purge of fire, we are being shown we need to stop giving our power, Pluto ruled, away. It is time for us to grow up, take responsibility for ourselves and our actions. Also, you need an awful lot of heat in order to create diamonds. Another symbol I am being given to represent what is taking place at this time in our lives, within our multifaceted experiences of soul growth and evolution. And this is how it came through to me. It came through as a furnace with all the fire energy coming from the Aries house, the first house, the Aries house of the self, the I, the identity, all that Mars energy, Eris energy, and of course Black Moon Lilith energy sitting there as well. All the impurities being kind of blasted out. The Sun and the Moon in the Libra opposition, and also trining across to Gemini, so it's extra air to kind of feed those flames. And because it's in an opposition there, it's also got a T-square across to the Capricorn energy of all the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter energy of Capricorn that's happening and has been happening for the last year, which is representative of the earth element, ourselves, as well as establishments, systems, everything that we kind of rely on and have kind of grown to expect to just be there. Everything is changing. So Saturn is a hard, tough taskmaster. It is what we have to work hard at in order to become successful at it. So this would include our time and commitment to something, how we earn a living, what we put our energy into in order to see rewards. All these things we have now seen changing. As Pluto, Lord of the Underworld, continues to dig deep into the very foundations of our once familiar lives, destroying the underpinning of society as we know it. People are losing their stability, their sanctity, and their sanity. Capricorn also rules over establishments, governance, courts, all very Saturnalian, black cloaks and daggers, being part of an elite group, which with its own language, blacks, dictionary or legalese, that's all very Saturn connected, the law courts, all that black wearing of the cloaks, and like I say, like the elite group that they are, it's their own, they have their own language, like legalese is their own language, which most people have no clue what it's even about. The hierarchy is another thing that Saturn rules over, as well as the monarchy, corporations, structure, systems within governments. All of this is at this time under intense pressure to keep the status quo. So all that energy is trying to keep the status quo going, while we are also under the same intense pressure to break free from it, which is what all the Aries energy is about at the moment, and the Eris energy as well, which is squaring over to all the stuff in Capricorn and has been for, well, since the beginning of this year again. So it's still this ongoing, behind the scenes, if you like, energy of disruption and things that are kind of the status quo being challenged, really, because that's what Eris does. She challenges, she's disharmony, she's the energy of standing up in the streets and arguing and kind of trying to, if there's any harmony, then Eris will find the discord within that. She loves nothing more than to upset the status quo. So that's why all of this Eris and Pluto, Saturn and Jupiter energy is really kind of in our faces at this time. So therefore we also find ourselves being inside this furnace, literally, and the temperature is being increased. In Greek mythology, fire was something only the gods and goddesses were allowed to possess, as it elevated them as immortals above the mortal physical domain. It was their job and their duty to watch over and steer us in the right direction, so much so that the Greeks had a god or goddess for just about everything imaginable. One of these Titan or giant gods, Prometheus, who is actually credited with the creation of the human race, whom he was supposed to have made from clay, had previously been beaten in the battle by Zeus, Jupiter, and his brothers Hades, Pluto and Poseidon, Neptune. So Prometheus is said to have been the god who created us from the clay. The biblical story, you find it in all the ancient texts as well. It goes way back, Sumerian text, Egyptian text. It's in so many ancient texts across the world. It's like that story of the creation of the human race is kind of hidden somewhere amongst all these ancient writings. And Prometheus was said to have been the one who brought us to life. So he also spent a lot of time down amongst the lower earthly realm as well with the human race, with his creation. Prometheus enjoyed the company of the human race more than he enjoyed the company of the gods. And he decided that he was going to help improve our existence by stealing the fire that Zeus guarded very heavily as one of his powers. It was one of Zeus's powers. He was very jealous of it and he guarded it very jealously. So using his cunning and crafty nature, very Prometheus, did exactly this by bringing it down from the lofty heights of Olympus and changing the course of human history forever. Zeus was furious at this betrayal, and Prometheus was cruelly punished by being tied to a rock upside down, while every night Zeus would let his eagle devour his liver. Being an immortal, it would grow back again during the day, and thus the vicious cycle would be repeated. This one act of kindness cost Prometheus dearly, but by learning to apply the attributes of this element, the human race has managed to elevate itself above all creatures on this earthly domain and put ourselves into the realms of the gods and the goddesses. So fire has become one of those things that, had we not ever learned how to use fire, we would still be stumbling about in the dark, so to speak. So I think it's an element that we kind of take for granted these days because it's just there. So fire is symbolically seen as our drive and our passion, our creativity, inspiration, and desire to go beyond where we are now. Fire helps us to evolve, to move out of the ruts we find ourselves in. The fire in our bellies at this time is the me, the I am expression of I can and I will, which is meeting full force in an opposition with all the 7th house energy of Libra. Libra is depicted as the scales. It is the only inanimate symbol of all the 12 zodiac signs, which is why it represents justice, fairness, harmony, balance of our emotions through our understanding of the use of logic. So we don't end up making irrational, rash and over-emotional decisions. Often depicted as holding a set of scales in her hand and found outside the older court buildings is the Greek goddess Athena. Although the scales themselves would have originated from the Egyptian pantheon and the god Thoth, who it was said weighed the soul at the time of death against a feather to see how pure that soul was, as to whether it went onto the heavens or whether it went down to the underworld, so to speak. Athena was born from the head of Zeus, or Jupiter, and for this reason is said to be emotionally detached and shown as being blindfolded in order to be able to make a fair, honest decision. After all the facts have been laid out before her, something which seems to be happening less and less as we become more aware of the two-tiered justice system we are now dealing with. Again, going back to the Saturnalian court system that we are now living under. Again, going back to the idea of this language, this legalese language, that most of us don't have a clue what is going on when we enter the courtroom as to what we've actually agreed to. So that's another point of this Libra energy as well, because it is squaring across to all of this Saturn stuff happening at this time. So at the time of this new moon, and over the next 2 weeks, this will all become more and more apparent as the division continues to widen. So we will be seeing, I believe, more and more division between those who believe they have the right to tell the rest of us basically how we should and shouldn't live our lives, and those who have that authority, how they actually don't live up to their own standards and don't live up to their own rules and don't actually, it is that two-tiered system. It's like, you know, I would do whatever I want, but you have to do what I tell you to do. And I think it's going to become more and more apparent and more obvious to a lot of people. So at the time of this new moon, we are seeking ways to balance up our energies, both the masculine and feminine, the logical and the emotional, the aggressive and the passive, the active doing and the receptive nurturing of which we all have within us. Regardless of our gender, we will also be inclined to learn more lean more to one energy than the other. This new moon could be asking us to take a look to see which of these energies are more dominant and try to create a more equal dynamic within ourselves. Looking for a new way of approaching our own needs in the dynamic of our personal one-to-one relationships. For some, this could be the need for putting yourself first, standing up for your self-determination, and recognizing that putting your partner's needs and wants first does not necessarily lead to a happy and harmonious situation. Realizing, in fact, that it can lead to the complete opposite of resentment and low self-worth. For others, it could be the other way around, where you realize you have been expecting too much and giving too little of yourself, your time, your energy, your appreciation, whatever is needed to address the imbalance of an equal sense of compromise. Usually, the new moon is a time of quieter, more tranquil, deeper reflection, an inner level, as there is no light on the face of the moon and she is hidden from our sight. Symbolically, this can also mean we are less likely to be open to our emotional experiences or see what's coming. Slap bang in between both Mars at 20 degrees 11 minutes and Black Moon Lilith at 29 degrees and 29 minutes, we find Eris in direct and very strong opposition with both our masculine and feminine energy. The next 2 weeks, up until the coming blue full moon on the 31st of October in the sign of Taurus, we are really being tested. And going back to the furnace scenario, we will need to dig deep into that Libra energy, both individually and collectively, during the time of this purging, in order to remain calm, peaceful and diplomatic, as we will be feeling like we are inside a pressure cooker that's been on the boil for too long and the valve has yet to be released. The potential is there for things to explode in a dangerous and deadly fashion. The craziness all around us, being observed through all aspects of our lives, is in part being created by a retrograde Neptune at 18 degrees 39 minutes in its home sign of Pisces, the watery, deep, subconscious realm of the unknown, and Neptune, the planet of nebulousness and confusion. Those who have the reins of power are not afraid to use it, but nothing seems to be making any sense. We see the people standing up for their rights, and we see those with the power using it to keep those who are questioning the narrative masked up and locked down. Saturn is using its full force in order to enforce its restrictive and controlling powers. And interestingly, all that Aries energy is both encouraging and firing up the people, as well as being used to shut us down. The thing is, at this time, Mars, of course, is also retrograde, so he's moving incredibly slowly backwards through the sky at this time. Really, all this disruption that we're seeing is coming from the Eris energy, even though Mars is kind of there and kind of encouraging that energy. He's not really full force at this time, but he will when he stations direct, and turns and comes back across. Once again, he will meet up with Eris, and then things could really reach a kind of volcanic point as well, because the two together are very explosive energies. They are actually known as brother and sister energies, and they both enjoy war, arguments, disruption, disharmony. But Mars has still got a way to go before he actually stations direct. I don't think that's happening until November, so we've still got a bit of time to wait for that to happen. So interestingly, what we're seeing on both sides is this Mars energy of like the military and the police being brought in to stop the people. Mars is the people standing up. It is the warrior energy within all of us, that courage to actually stand up and say, I don't agree with this. And then you've got those who are being used to enforce the regime, shall we say, of those who have the power to do so. So it's all kind of coming from that Mars or Aries placements, but also the squaring energy from Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter at this same time, which, because they are so slow moving, are also going to be long lasting energies as well. So in fact, Saturn won't be leaving Capricorn until the end of December. So it's still going to be an ongoing process, an ongoing struggle that we're going to be experiencing. So what is even more ironic is the labour of the people and the money, which is kind of the Capricorn side of things as well. As I was saying, Capricorn rules labour, work, how you earn a living. The money that is extracted by the use of taxes is how they fund these arbitrary actions that are taken by those people who also have enough power on their side so as not to be able to seek redress against them, thereby using ourselves against ourselves. An ingenious and devilishly clever plan that very few dare to question or argue against. Again, it's that sense of divide and conquer, because there's always going to be people who agree and go along with it, and there's always going to be people who say, whoa, that doesn't feel right. That just does not feel right. This is my sovereignty, this is my life, and that again is very Mars energy. So now, however, all this appears to be changing as class action lawsuits, Aries, Libra and Capricorn, all rolled into one, are being filed in courts around the world. People are wanting fairness, balance and harmony, and most of all, a sense of equality. Then we also have Jupiter in the same energy sector of Capricorn that has just made his third and last exact sextile with Neptune on the 11th of October. This sextile between the two first became exact back in February. Then, due to them both being retrograde, they met again in July. And lastly, 5 days before this new moon. However, Jupiter and Neptune have not really come out as sextiles since January, and both have played major starring, albeit subtle, roles in the background of our lives over the last 10 months. Neptune and Jupiter together have been keeping a dream alive for us ever since the early days of this year. Both of them have a lot more to do with the metaphysical realm, the unseen and the unknowable, the imaginative and creative, rather than affecting our physical world directly. It is more on a deeper subconscious knowing of feeling how everything is connected to everything else on an energetic and spiritual level. That is the gift that we can discover from the bounty of Jupiter, who just wants to bring us expansive and truthful experiences to learn from during this sextile. A gift of discovering more about ourselves in a time of difficulties and ongoing separation, of our personal strengths and weaknesses, which Jupiter will also help to magnify for our evolutionary growth, process and mastery. This sextile will continue up until 9th of November in the background of our lives, when finally, after almost a year, Neptune and Jupiter will break free of each other's influence. Meanwhile, Jupiter and Pluto inch ever closer to their last exact conjunction, which I will talk about at a later date. As I mentioned earlier, we have oppositions happening with our inner planets and the bigger outer ones. One of these is with Mercury, 11 degrees and 10 minutes, retrograde in Scorpio, and Uranus at 9 degrees, 17 minutes in Taurus, also retrograde. Mercury having only recently turned at 11 degrees and 40 minutes, 2 days previously before this new moon. The opposition itself, however, started back on the 30th of September, and it will continue up until the 26th of October. Mercury is our thinking and logical mind, our day-to-day gathering data, information, and planning mind. In Scorpio, a fixed water sign, Mercury struggles to be able to do what he does best, be flexible, free thinking, and being able to quickly make decisions as and when needed. Scorpio, however, is all about the feelings, and it's those that we keep deeply buried, ruled by Pluto, Lord of the underworld, birth, death, rebirth, and transformation. Pluto also rules over all things underground, metals, mining, tunnels, as well as poison, scandal, and those things we personally fear the most. When in Scorpio, Mercury becomes the deep diving detective, and he has the capacity to bring to the surface things we may have thought long buried and forgotten. This can include relationships that can suddenly come back around, especially when Uranus is involved. Uranus is the higher vibrational octave of Mercury, the cosmic consciousness, the universal mind, which can bring on eureka moments of complete inspiration that can hit out of the blue and send your life in a completely new direction, if you choose to act on them. Uranus is the future, the bringer of change, unexpectedly. But in Taurus, also a fixed sign, Uranus too has a difficult time, wanting to break free and feel more freedom. Taurus rules not only all our finances, banking systems, but also our values, the how and the why, as well as all our sensual appreciation of our personal physical domain and our wider outer environment. In Taurus, Uranus is saying big, shocking, awakening change is coming, which could trigger some deeply buried fears around our stability and security, which at this time, with everything happening in the world, it makes total sense. That this will include whatever we see as our safety zone. Change is here, and when Uranus turns direct, we will see it happening in very sudden, unexpected ways, which will affect each of us individually in different areas of our lives as well as collectively. In the meantime, Mercury and Uranus are reminding us to get out of our little limiting mind and connect consciously with the bigger, higher mind that is the part of ourselves which knows we are a part of all that is, all that has ever been, and all that is yet to be. The universal cosmic consciousness is letting us know that we can hand all our worries, stresses and fears over to it at this time and learn to trust in a much bigger plan than the one we are limited by, while seeing everything through our Mercury-ruled mind. Something beyond our scope of recognition is occurring at this time, and the best we can do is honour whatever we are feeling and allow the process unfolding before us, teaching us to discern the difference between the universal and the man-made energies of creation. The last opposition here is taking place with Venus at 16 degrees 27 minutes in Virgo and Neptune at 18 degrees 39 minutes in Pisces. Venus is also one of our inner personal planets, and like Mercury, she affects us on a more day-to-day level and works through our lower-based instinctual reaction to love and physical attraction between the genders. Venus is both the ruler of Taurus, where we find Uranus, and Libra, where we find both the Sun and the Moon. She also governs our values, our sensual world and environment, all things connected to our personal relationships. In the sign of Virgo, Venus can become extremely absorbed by the details, focusing and obsessing on perfection, having to get everything neatly tied together with no loose ends showing. This kind of obsessive behaviour can lead to paralysis, as nothing is ever going to be perfect enough. Once again though, we find the lower base energy of Venus is directly balanced with the energy of its higher vibrational octave, Neptune, coming through on a more raised frequency of love and compassion. Here we are being told to get our feelings out of the details and the analysing of our relationships, and to look to the deeper subconscious realm of our emotions, putting our feelings above our thinking, our emotions above our logic, all things we have not been encouraged to do, as the logical world with its facts and its figures is so much easier to negotiate. But we as human beings are not facts and figures. We are our emotions. We are what we feel and express through our feelings. All the creativity we experience, whether it be art, poetry, writing, dancing, music, all come from a place deep within the subconscious soul realm of our being. The things that bring us joy and happiness, the parts of ourselves we can share with those closest to us, that are a facet of our multi-dimensional awareness that we are not even aware on the whole of ourselves. These are the gifts of Neptune, the deeper intuitive knowing and trusting something that is yet to take form. Neptune in Pisces epitomises the unknown and that risk we take when we take the first step to cross over from that logical place of having the facts into that space of not knowing what the universe is co-creating with us. And this, I feel, is where we are at. This is the gift of creation Neptune has been slowly nurturing. We can either continue to see ourselves as separate from everything else and therefore choose to live in a fear-based lower vibration of needing, craving and wanting, or we can choose to remember we are all source energy, connected through the source of all that is. Each one of us is a reflection of the refracted light from which we are all divided fractals. In Tibetan Buddhism, this is what is known as the rainbow body of pure light. Venus in Virgo, opposing Neptune in Pisces, is taking us out of the mundane, more physical idea of love into the spiritual, all-forgiving, all-encompassing, compassionate, knowing love for ourselves and all humanity, allowing us to realise that we all suffer in one way or another. Suffering is part of the human condition that we all have in common. Just by being here, alive now, today, on this planet, we are all experiencing the dance of life, as foretold by the language of the planets, stars in the heavens. This is a time for us to remember our interconnectedness to all and everything is already there, and it does not need to be achieved by an artificial means to an artificial world. This opposition began on the 13th of October, 3 days before the new moon, and it will continue until not long before midnight on the 23rd. Just a quick update on the ongoing Mars Eris Black Moon Lilith energy, which is still taking place in the first house energy of Aries, which I still believe is going to reveal all the underage sexual predilections even, of those in positions of power. Black Moon Lilith is, however, about to move into Taurus on the 21st of October. This will change the Aries dynamic, but what is interesting is the upcoming opposition that will occur between Mercury in Scorpio, gossip and lover of scandals, and Black Moon Lilith, power, lust and sexual taboos being brought to the surface from the watery depths into the Taurus-ruled environment of finances and values. As Mercury is now retrograde and faster moving than Black Moon Lilith, this will begin to take place on the 22nd of October, just as the Sun moves out of Libra and slips across into Scorpio. This will set up a conjunction with both Mercury and the Sun, as they both at the same time oppose Black Moon Lilith. The Sun will be putting it all in the spotlight. There will be no place to hide, as the light will be shone directly on all the corruption, and thereby exposing the narrative of the rich and powerful, which will include those in the Mercury-ruled media. As I said previously, change is happening. You can't argue with Uranus. And those who have governed from behind the scenes are in for a rude awakening. This opposition will continue right up until Mercury stations direct on the 4th of November. Then Mercury will turn and do it all over again, keeping Black Moon Lilith in its sights right up until the 18th of November at precisely 11:33 hours UK time. And for those of you who've been on my channel for a while will know that I kind of have a thing about synchronistic numbers and things, and I find those numbers 11 and 33, which are both master numbers, very interesting numbers considering the energy around what we're talking about. So on the 28th of October at 01:34 hours UK time, Mercury will move back into Libra at 29 degrees and 59 minutes. He will be followed 7 minutes later by Venus at 01:41 hours. 0 degrees, 00 minutes. Both of these personal inner planets will be at either end of the 7th house energy of our personal one-to-one intimate relationships. The place where we seek balance, harmony, justice, fairness, diplomacy and equality. With Mercury and Venus both either end of the scales, here we are looking to find that balance between our head and our heart. So literally Mercury and Venus are both going to be either end of Libra, which I find very, very interesting considering the timing and what is going to be coming up, particularly in the US over the next week after the 28th. So I would just like to quickly read you the Sabian symbol for the 23rd degree of Libra, which is the Chanticleer's voice heralds the rising sun with enthusiastic tones. Or Chanticleer's. Not quite sure how to pronounce that, but apparently it means the cockerel. I don't know why it doesn't say that, but that's apparently what it is. Or the rooster. This symbol shows enthusiasm, joy, confidence, and the desire to greet each day with the anticipation of new opportunities. It is true that each day begins the same. The sun comes up, the world is still spinning. But what the day will bring always holds a bit of a mystery. This is a joyous symbol of greeting and heralding the day, but there can be a blurring of the concept of whether the Chanticleer or the rooster, again, really don't know how to pronounce that, causes or simply heralds the new day. You may be blessed with the voice to speak of new developments, to make announcements and wake everyone up to the realities of life. Don't make too much of a noise while doing it, and you'll rouse people around you to action. Waking early, having a clear, beautiful or loud voice, feeling like a brand new start is on its way, speaking up when needed, being a morning person, seeing things ahead of time. The caution here is overstating your role, talents or abilities, being noisy and disturbing others, sounding off, being loud and irritating, taking the glory and none of the responsibility. And there's a link to the Sabian symbols for anybody who's interested on the blog as well. So very interesting times lie ahead as we race towards this blue full moon in Taurus. And until next time, as above, so below, time is here now, which is the name of my blog, by the way. So very quickly, and I should have probably done this earlier, but we have these cards of the new moon energy, which is all about a new start, something fresh coming into our lives. And because the moon is in Libra, it will have something to do with our personal relationships. So there could be a new relationship coming into our lives, or there could be a new beginning for a relationship that maybe has been there for a while but hasn't really gone any further. And so the cardinal moon here is saying be bold and make the first move, because the Libra moon is a cardinal moon. It's better. And then lastly we have the new moon in Libra, which says a new romantic cycle begins. And very quickly, I would just like to read you briefly from these two cards that I've pulled. The River Rock, which has come out a few times now, and this is allowing. And then we also have Dioptase or Courage. So the two together I find very interesting when I put them together, because normally I would read one, but again, and I'm sure this has happened before, it's been allowing something. I don't know if it was allowing courage last time as well, but I know that there has been allowing and another card. So this time it is allowing courage. And Dioptase is also the heart chakra energy as well, because it's a green card. So I will read, or green crystal should I say. So I shall read quickly from the River Rock energy. For those of you who've been on my channel previously, you will have heard probably this card before. So through the years, gentle waves lapping round us and wild torrents pounding upon us have carved us into smooth rounded stones. And this is a root chakra energy here that we're talking about as well. This is a grounding, keeping things grounded. So grounding the heart energy is how it's coming across to me. So we have no sharp edges. We offer ourselves as an example to humans of the shedding of layers, the rough edges that develop through our many emotional hard knocks. You were created smooth. Over time, disappointment, rejection and fear formed calluses as a type of protection to soften life's blows. That hardened shield has served you well. It has warned others against hurting you, and they have backed away. The armour protects you, but it also isolates you. It takes courage to risk letting go of the roughness and toughness that protects you from others, which is very Libra energy as well that we're talking about here, interestingly as well, because Libra is, as we're saying, 7th house energy of relationships, which is what it seems to be talking about here. Why should you give them an opening by exposing that soft underbelly where you are vulnerable? Because loneliness is a high price to pay for safety. The dropping of your guard will bring you closer to others and remove you from self-imposed isolation. Rough edges and jagged points threaten. One of the reasons we allow the water to wear away our tough exteriors is to be more accessible to the human kingdom. Humans who wade the river's edges consider our smooth surface friendly. They are not afraid of us. We offer ourselves as a place for them to step, to sit, to rest. Tired bodies and spirits. If you have drawn this card today, the message for you may be to let the emotional waters of life wash over you. Allow yourself to resurrect an old hurt with the intent of letting it go, which is very Mercury in Scorpio as well. The pain, bringing up the hurt, the wounds of the past is a very Mercury in Scorpio energy, because Scorpio tends to hold on to painful experiences and trauma. Permit yourself the vulnerability of really feeling the emotion, then release it to the river of life to be swept away. Free yourself of it. The situation itself was painful enough. Your pain has been multiplied by forcing it down for so long. You are brave to risk the temporary pain that a face-to-face confrontation with an old demon may cause. Again, very Mercury in Scorpio energy. The act of allowing the pain to surface, working through it and then releasing it will free you and soothe your soul. Next time it will not be so hard. You will notice that as you are willing to be more vulnerable, you will pose less of a threat to others. They will approach you more often and serve as a support system for you. So I'm going to leave that one there, and I'm going to move on quickly to Dioptase, which, as I was saying, is the card of courage, and also the heart chakra, the green energy. So before you can manifest the courage of your convictions, you must be sure what your convictions are. If you're confused about your priorities, allow us to help you. It is our privilege to help you go deep into your heart, to find what special dream moves you, what sacred belief system guides your life. Your conscious beliefs and judgments are impressions you have internalized from your environment. Your soul's true belief system has developed over the eons of time. Experiences working with divine consciousness have helped you create your own internal code of ethics. This code has travelled with you through the corridors of space and time, adding new information as you learned and grew. It is not easy to stand up for and act upon your convictions. There will always be those who will criticise, taunt, and even persecute you for your beliefs. But it is the way of your soul. Your inner voice is reminding you what is necessary to maintain your integrity, to stay on your path. Why have you drawn the Dioptase card today? Are you trying to gather the courage to make an important decision in your life? Or perhaps you may be searching for courage to confront someone about an uncomfortable issue. Do you find that each day it takes more and more courage to keep functioning in an unkind world? Why do you especially need courage at this time? And I think it's very relevant at this time, in fact, with everything that's going on in the world, actually having that courage to even kind of be able to face the day-to-day things that we have to face at this time. Regardless of your particular issue, we will help you find the courage to speak your truth and walk your talk. Courage is within you, even though it may be hidden by uncertainty or fear. Together, you and we will travel through fear's shadowy corridors and illuminate them with confidence and hope. Again, going back to the Mercury in Scorpio energy, and also the Uranus in Taurus energy as well, the kind of letting go, giving your fears over to the higher energy, the higher consciousness, allowing that to be released, which is what the river rock energy was also talking about here as well. Giving it over to something bigger, to get out of the Mercury fueled fear of our minds, and because our mind can send us down all kinds of roads and avenues and pathways of fear and guilt and shame and all the things that we blame ourselves for as well. Very Scorpio energy. And also not being able to forgive as well, which is another element of all this as well, I feel, is being allowed to forgive ourselves, our situations from the past, historically, generationally, and in our own personal lives as well. Do you have a choice about whether this is a time to take action or not? You always do. The great Creator has provided you with free will. Whenever you decide to make your journey, we will be here to assist you. Courage is a gift of the universe to the human kingdom to help you deal with the challenges on the earth plane. The heart chakra is the translation point for this universal energy to infuse the physical vehicle. Accept this incredible gift and use it to expand yourself. Look deeply into your green essence and let it activate your spark of courage. Consider it to be your green light for go. You can accomplish whatever you set out to. Your higher self, your internal guide, is brave and strong. And that higher internal self, the higher self, is also very much to do with that Uranus cosmic energy and also the Neptune energy as well. Neptune energy being the greater love and compassion as well, the forgiveness element. So I'm going to leave the reading there and say thank you very much to anyone who has recently subscribed to my channel. I really do appreciate it. Again, I am really sorry that I didn't manage to get this out previously. Hopefully I will be able to get the next one out on time. I am working on it now, but sometimes life just throws you sideballs, whatever you want to call them, just kind of swerves you off of your path and sends you down a different route that you're not expecting at all. And that's kind of what happened to me very suddenly last Wednesday. But fortunately, my beautiful pixie, or our beautiful pixie, is doing very well, and hopefully I will be able to bring her on and show you her sometime soon, for those of you who have any interest in seeing her. So again, thank you very much to those of you who have subscribed. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please could you do so. Could you also hit the bell? There is a subscription or a subscribe button on the video now, so you should just be able to tap that and it will take you to a little bell where you can tap that and get the videos as and when I put them out there. Please also thumbs the videos up, because it does really help the channel to grow as well, which I am trying to do, even though I have not had any time to put into doing anything recently. I will be focusing my attention back on my channel and on yourselves. Please so like my video up for me. Again, if you're interested, there will be the link for both the natal chart and my blog will also be attached for those of you who may want to follow my blog as well. And also if you feel like sharing this video, please feel free to do that as well, because that also helps to get the messages out there as well. It may help somebody who's feeling lost, lonely, abandoned, whatever. However, the energy is at this time is very difficult energy. The oppositions, all the squares that we have at this time, very difficult energies. So with that being said, please take really good care of yourselves, and please take really good care of anybody else around you who you can. And hopefully I will see you all again soon. Thank you.